Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great having you here today. We're going to be looking at the tropics. Is it ever going to become active out here into the Atlantic, or are we just going to remain quiet? Well, we're going to take a look here. We do have that tropical wave across parts of the Caribbean we're going to be watching over the next several days to week, and it does tend to get caught up here into this old boundary across southern Florida. We'll see if there's any chance that it could make it to the Gulf. We see potential for some of these Cape Verde waves to make it into potential tropical storm or hurricane status as we continue through the end of the month, and some big tropical waves across Central Africa. These could make it into the MDR. Will this translate into an uptick of tropical activity come mid to late September? Let's get into it. All right, so here we are. Bear with me here because Radar Omega did a update and it's not going well. But at least we have some coverage here. I don't have my isobars, my low and high pressure systems, but we'll get through it here. Let's take a look. It does look a little clearer, but hopefully they can polish this up a little bit more. So as we go through time, you can ultimately see we're looking at not much. Here we are, our new timestamp location, September 11th. So yeah, things do look a little clearer here. I'm not going to complain about that. But here we go. We got this area of low pressure, South Florida, in Central Florida, dealing with some heavy rain. What is happening with our Caribbean system here? So this was initially the first system I was talking about. So we don't really have anything. We don't have any big contenders right now. No major areas of concern. So here's this tropical wave south of Jamaica. This is right around September 14th at 11 a.m. Ultimately, let's take this first. And as we go through time, you can see the storm. Well, we don't want to call it a storm because we don't know if this is actually going to spin up. But it does look like it has plenty of moisture moving through the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, as we stretch through the 16th, 17th, and eventually the 18th. This does move just east of Cancun and here South Florida. What it doesn't do is go into the Gulf like the GFS was showing the other day. So it gets caught up in this elongated trough, and its moisture is spun off here to the northeast. Does it even get into the Gulf? At this point, it does not look like it. So let's go out to our next potential system out here. This one has a more likelihood of becoming a named storm. I know this is just getting crazy because the models keep backing off on a lot of this activity. So right around September 14th, which is only a couple days out, this is looking pretty potent here, as is this. So if we go across Central Africa, you can see these waves just lining up one after another. It gives you an idea of how much activity we're going to be looking at as we go later into September. Now, this one does look more impressive. However, it's more of a fish storm. So, yeah, Bermuda could get hit as well as the Azores. So not completely fish storm here, but if I could superimpose, there's a high pressure out here, and it's going to be moving around the periphery of the subtropical high. Kind of gets stalled out here around September 22nd and 23rd. Is there anything else to worry about here? Well, let's take a look. So as we just cruise through time here, the intertropical convergence zone remaining pretty active, but nothing really looks that good until right around the one I just showed you here. This one doesn't have too much of a chance as it's right in the wake of it. Lesser Antilles showing some dry weather through the 18th and the 19th. So we'll watch it here. Dominican Republic has some scattered showers through the third week here of September. And this little feature making it into the Bay of Campeche. Let's take a look at the European model. Is it similar? So thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our European tropical model analysis. Do we have anything going on? Well, not really. We have a little low trying to form down here all through Thursday into Friday. Got some strong tropical waves. We've had a lot of strong tropical waves. Look at this one just east of the Lesser Antilles. We also have another one out here. I'll tell you what, though, we're grasping for straws here because as we go through time here, the European, yeah, there's this little area of low pressure, but it looks more cold core at this point. A little bit of a low pressure trying to form here right around Monday, September 15th. So we'll keep an eye on this. I do have to say, though, that the atmospheric conditions are very hostile out here, as we've seen them completely ripping apart these invest systems. So, yeah, there it is. European trying to hold this on. I mean, It's possible we could see a named storm out of it. You see it's pretty persistent through September 20th here. Also, another area of low pressure. It is interesting that the third week of September, we start to see this, bubble up action here. But we've seen this again and again with the models, especially the GFS. This is the first time we're kind of seeing it here with the European run. Actual tropical low pressure. So this may hold some weight. We'll keep an eye on it out here because I do think that at some point things need to pick up here in the tropics. It's just very, very eerily quiet. And I think a lot of you are thinking the same thing here. So here we go. Another area of low pressure. We got some tropical waves moving through. And look at the Lesser Antilles here, getting hit with a lot of tropical wave action as well. None of these seem to spin up. Look at this, though. One of these, it looks like blowing up into a major hurricane. Could it approach the Azores out here come September 24th? Well, that's pretty far out, but that would be a tremendous hurricane if that were to hold true. So let's zoom in on the Caribbean here. So progressing across the Caribbean here into the Gulf, Central America, you can see as we stretch through Friday into Saturday, this tropical wave moving through Trinidad, Tobago up to St. Vincent, maybe the Virgin Islands as well. Saturday morning, look at these heavier showers moving through. Also Jamaica, a few showers and thunder showers. We got this old boundary. It's actually making it as far south as Cancun and just north of the Cayman Islands here. So as we continue in time, you can ultimately see this right across the Lesser Antilles. European model going big with rainfall amounts. We'll go over those momentarily here. As we stretch through September 16th, you can see these showers and thunderstorms continuing across the North Central Caribbean islands, the Bahamas. But yeah, we're not seeing any of that spin up that we seen the other day in the Western Caribbean Gulf. It's just so eerie, and we've seen this time and time again. So here we go. This area we can see showing up potential tropical system through September 20th here. We are socked in with a lot of moisture here, though. So anything can happen this, as we're approaching we're at peak hurricane season here. Many have said it's going to be a backloaded season. So it's possible things could really start to pick up over the next week or two. We'll see. I know a lot of people are skeptical. I'm skeptical myself. But here we go. This is a pretty strong tropical wave moving through Trinidad, Tobago here right around September 23rd. Right through Jamaica as well. Look at all this South Florida, the Bahamas, Eastern Gulf. It's just so strange. We've had basically almost nothing here in the Gulf with how warm it is. Looking across the North Atlantic here, look at the Gulf on fire, but it's so weird there's no tropical systems yet. Look at the Caribbean as well. Cape Verde area, yeah, you're having a little bit of upwelling, continuing cooler than average. Cape Verde Islands themselves are above average, but yeah, you would think that we'd see more tropical development going on. Something is definitely strange. And look what we're looking at here into the Western Caribbean. Yeah, we have that tropical wave moving through over the next several days. That'll promote some rainfall. You see Central America, we're moistening up here all the way up to the Bay of Campeche. Belize, yeah, we're upwards of 150, 200 millimeters along the north shore of Honduras as well. Nicaragua, 150, 200. Look at inland here of Nicaragua, though. Down to El Salvador, Guatemala areas as well. Jamaica, look at over here. 70, 80 millimeters along the northern part of the island. Western part of Dominican Republic, 140, 150 millimeters. And looking at the Western Caribbean here, as we stretch through the weekend into early next week, you can see Central America really becoming the bullseye here. Belize, yeah, over 125, 150 millimeters here. As we stretch through the 21st, yeah, you can see where that old boundary is. It's just going to set up shop here from South Florida. It just is amazing that nothing is spun up off of this, and it doesn't look like the model wants to either. Jamaica, some areas approaching 100, 125 millimeters. Yeah, it could get pretty moist here into the Western Caribbean through the third week of September. And look at here into the Eastern Caribbean. We have a tropical wave that's going to be trying to move through, if you can call it that, for the most part. This may be looking at a potential storm. We'll watch out. But look at, yeah, we could see some gusty showers and thunder showers move through. This is right around next Monday, Tuesday, and then really more prevalent towards the third week of September. I know the models keep kicking the can down the road with these tropical waves, but it looks like 100, 120 millimeters in some of these areas. Trinidad, Tobago, right around 80 or 90. Central Lesser Antilles, that's where you're being targeted. And looking at the Eastern Caribbean here, for our GFS run, we can go all the way out to about, here we go, the 20th. So, yeah, showing something out here. Oh, look at that. Western parts of Dominican Republic and Haiti, upwards of 300 millimeters in some of these areas. Look at Puerto Rico, right around, 100 millimeters. This will get you about 3 to 4 inches through St. Croix as well. A little bit lesser here, obviously, here into the Northern Virgin Islands and down to Trinidad, Tobago. Maybe about 40 to 60 here on the GFS. Showing a lot more, though, here on the European. This GFS showing about 60 to 70 millimeters. All right, so here we are looking at the HRRR Future Radar. Bear with me here because Radar Scope updated everything, and it's not really that great performing right now. I don't know why we can't get rid of these out of Florida as well, but here we go. We got showers and thunderstorms continuing to move up the coastline here. And as you can see, we'll have some scattered showers here through 11 a.m. on Wednesday throughout parts of the Outer Banks up through the Northeast. Very minuscule chance as we get up here. Oh, my pen actually works. That's good. So here we go. As we continue to see this low pressure move up the coast, it'll drag this old front, stalling across central Florida here. That's why, it's probably why these green polygons, so to speak, are across Florida to warn of some heavy rainfall, discussions going on here. But look at the rest of the eastern part of the country. You really can't complain here. It's really nice. And severe weather, there is none to speak of for your Wednesday. Just some generalized thunderstorms here into the green. And the same can be said for Thursday. All right, so we're looking at the GFS here where our future radar picked up. Yeah, that system moving out to sea. You can see South Florida. We're continuing with those showers. One thing to note, right around the 13th here, we may have this little front trying to move through. Maybe some spritzels moving through parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, 5 p.m. on the 13th. So it's quite possible, but not likely. I mean, the atmosphere is very dry, so we'll watch for it here. GFS showing this trying to make a run for the coast initially. Maybe some spritzels near the coast and some wave and rip tides as well. I do want to make note. Let me just backtrack here. This is going to create some coastal, flooding concerns, rip tides, beach erosion. So watch out over the next couple days. But as that moves out, we get this next area of low pressure, the 13th into the 14th. Ultimately, what you can see happening here is it mostly staying off the coast here, according to the GFS, kind of washing out. We'll watch our potential hurricane out here by the 20th. We'll see if that even happens. It's possible. We're getting some positive signals out there, as I told you, here into the tropics. But as we get through the 22nd, 23rd, here we go. We're starting to see some bigger systems, and this is good news. This may bring the Ohio Valley some heavier rain and some storms moving all the way to the East Coast. This is everybody's chance here. Let me just back that up. Look at Cleveland, Pittsburgh, 24th. So yeah, you're going to have to wait a while. This is the last frame, by the way, on the 25th. But this is some good news, getting some rainfall. All right, so we're going to pick up where our feature radar left off here. Look at that low pressure hanging out just off the New England coast. That's going to be out to sea. Southern Florida here, central Florida, showers and thunderstorms continuing through Thursday into Friday. That's basically the only show in town as this high pressure really rules supreme. Look at, you may get this inverted trough towards parts of the Outer Banks for late Friday and Saturday, but that stays mostly to the south as we head into the weekend. Just offshore, you're going to see those dark skies. It does try to run on shore right around Sunday morning here, southern Outer Banks. It's going to be really close for you in Norfolk, Virginia, but this low does try to spin up for Monday night and Tuesday into parts northeast. Might have a mini nor'easter trying to take over here. Looks pretty interesting. Could this be a thing to come this winter? Yeah, this winter's promising to be a little bit crazy. I'm going to give you a hint there. Working on my 2025-26 winter outlook, by the way, so I hope to have that out soon. This is interesting. Sunday, September 21st. Look at this big mesoscale convective complex system moving through northern Ohio. Yeah, all the way through to Ohio and western Pennsylvania. into the 22nd. So this could help bring some very beneficial rains here to parts of the mid-Atlantic here in interior Northeast. So watch out for that. Another front moving down, and look at South Florida here. One thing to note on the European run here, as I showed you in the tropics, there's not a whole lot going on in the tropics. And look at equivalent precipitation totals here. Florida and parts of the East Coast are going to be the under the gun for the heaviest rainfall. Also the northern plains and upper Midwest through September 24th here. If we zoom in on the European run, you can see South Florida here, 2, 4, maybe 5 inches. Yeah, look it up the East Coast. Parts of the Outer Banks could get clipped with 2 to 4 inches. It's going to be really close, though. Norfolk barely getting a half an inch here. Look at New York City, 4 inches. So, yeah, when does that come, by the way? That is next week. So right around Tuesday, Wednesday with this potential nor'easter. Could be looking at some totals approaching 3 or 4 inches with this nor'easter. And look at this. We pummel some rainfall inland as well. Got to get some rain here to help out the fall foliage color situation. Don't want it to get too dry. The trees will get too much into stress. So the GFS nationally here, what are we looking at? Yeah, the South Florida, again, parts of the East Coast. And the GFS is a lot lighter with systems up here. Look at Ohio, almost nothing. That's some pretty bad news. But look at parts of Florida, upwards of 5, 6 inches. Florida Keys approaching 6 inches with this old boundary with focusing tropical moisture. Up the East Coast, look at the Outer Banks on the GFS, almost nothing. Parts of Delmarva up maybe an inch. And look at the GFS is almost showing nothing up here with our early next week nor'easter. The European going much wetter. And before we continue with more of other coverage, don't forget, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to respond to your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe bell notification button. Let's get to 30,000 subscribers next. I just passed 20K. Let's continue with more weather coverage. NAO index is slightly negative, going towards neutral come the latter half of the month. And looking at our MJO index here, yeah, we're starting off right between 2 and 3, and we're just going to meander. This could be a little different, though. Overall, models are pointing us towards 7 and 8, which would be extremely active come later September into early October. All right, so our upper air pattern here. What is going on? Well, we have this troughiness along the East Coast. It's keeping things cooler. That is going to slowly meander off the coast, off the southeast coast through the 14th and 15th, so come the middle of the month. But ultimately, you can see that kind of cutting off. We may have some coastal low development here, but the ridge does win out by later in the month here. You can see some of this tropical action kind of going around the periphery of this big high. And of course, we have some blocking here along the U.S. East Coast, so we'll see if that continues. All right, so going out here into the central, western Pacific, yeah, this eastern Pacific area, we're going to watch this. This is going to be pretty interesting. Kiko is still cranking here northeast of the Hawaiian Islands. You can see about 40-mile-an-hour winds. It's going to become a remnant low over the next couple of days. So across the western Pacific, yeah, there's not much to talk about here. It's kind of crazy. Philippines, we have some showers and thunderstorms. Japan, you're getting some rainfall here through the 11th. So as we get later on in the week, look at this surge of moisture right over Seoul, South Korea here. Yeah, you are seeing some moisture fluxing in. I do have to admit the graphics are a little bit nicer, just a tad nicer here on this update. Hopefully they can get all the other things added. Gonna work on them with this, but let's see. Let's see, as we get this pushing to the northeast here, looks like Japan through this time period, September 12th into the 13th, that system moving out. And we do have a few areas of tropical wave action throughout the western Pacific. We're going to watch Japan and South Korea down to Shanghai completely dry out, down to Vietnam as well. This looks a little weird. And Japan just keeps getting hit with these synoptic systems, this westerly flow. And look at this, right around the 18th, you do start to see an area of potential development south of Japan here, east of the Philippines and Taiwan. And looking at western Pacific here, yeah, Japan, South Korea, that's where the heaviest rain's going to be. This is non-tropical rain, by the way, until you get to right around the third week here. Look at the Philippines, but this is no stranger to you. You know, 200-300 millimeters. That's nothing. Look at South China. Really dry. Taiwan, 100, 150 millimeters. It's up here in Seoul, South Korea, about 100 millimeters. Look at parts of Japan, upwards of 200 to 300 millimeters in some of these locations. So for our Canadian weather outlook, storminess back east, that will push to the east, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland throughout Monday into Tuesday. You can see a very fast-moving storm system flow across central and eastern Ontario through Quebec here through the middle part of the week. High pressure will be building in behind it. We do get a Pacific system pushing some moisture towards the coastline here. It's not making it much inland, though. Look at how dry it is here. That's not good for the wildfire situation out here in Alberta, but you can see these storm systems very weak, dropping across eastern parts of Canada. We will see some severe weather try to break out towards next weekend, right around the 14th and 15th with this area of low pressure. Gets cranked across the prairie areas. You can see that pushing east. Lines of showers and thunderstorms moving across Ontario and Quebec as that pushes east through the 17th. You can see some tropical moisture making it into Newfoundland here with this trough picking up Atlantic tropical moisture. And as you can see through the 18th here, let me just back this up. We do get a storm system that finally moves from the Pacific through Alberta, Saskatchewan, right around the 17th into the 18th. Could draw some lines of showers and thunderstorms, severe weather through parts of Saskatchewan and eventually Manitoba. And looking at Canada here, rainfall amounts. Yeah, most of it missing Nova Scotia, Newfoundland here with these tropical moisture surges. Look at the west coast of Canada, though. This is where you're seeing over 200, 300 millimeters with those Pacific systems. Also, the central prairies here, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, watch out, severe weather here down here with 100, 150 millimeters. A little bit drier, though, southern Ontario and Quebec. Look at some areas of southern Quebec barely getting anything. So looking at our temperatures, yeah, here we go. Wednesday, September 10th. That's going to be interesting. Look at the northeast here. Yeah, we're held down in southern New England into the 60s with the clouds and the rain, with the kicking up with that area of low pressure, almost like a little mini nor'easter out here. But look at 80s creeping back into the Ohio Valley as we head on into Thursday. Yeah, look at this. Surging 90s into Illinois. That's pretty interesting. But look at the 70s. Reign supreme here across the lakes, the northeast and northern parts of the Midwest here through New England. Look at Friday here, September 12th. Holding on to some very nice temperate readings, continuing to be into the 70s. We do have 90s building almost as far north as Chicago now, so that's going to be, that's a little too close for comfort, but look at here, a nice slot down in through parts of the Appalachians on Saturday, 70s and near 80 in many areas of the interior northeast into Sunday. I do want to make mention, look at this. This is getting a little ridiculous for the middle part of September, mid to upper 90s, the Mississippi and Ohio River valleys, although Cleveland's staying at 76, 75 throughout the eastern lakes. Into Monday, September 15th, yeah, we keep this nice temperate flow. Got to keep these cooler nights. We got to get some really good fall foliage throughout the interior northeast. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, Binghamton, Scranton, Sept, Susquehanna Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. Wednesday through Sunday, look at this. Sunny, 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 sunny. And the good news is, look at that nice sleeping weather, 40s and highs in the upper 70s to near 80. You can't get much better than that. That's pretty much paradise. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone, share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.